Hi, everyone. I want to thank you so much for coming last night to our home for our inaugural Civic Renaissance Salon feast, a feast for mind, body, and spirit. The goal, as we shared with you last night, was to have it be restorative and deeply nourishing of all aspects of who we are. You, as faith leaders in our community, you give so much, you serve, and we wanted to serve and nourish you as you so often give and nourish others. So I hope that you felt appreciated, honored, and loved. And I really enjoyed our conversation, how we kicked it off, where again, the goal of the evening wasn't to come together around as different faith backgrounds, whether it was Hindu, Judaism, Christianity, LDS, and to harmonize all of our beliefs and come together in some mushy middle. The goal was a robust pluralism, tolerance, saying we can bring our deeply held convictions to the fore and still respect each other and still respect our differences and come together as friends. That is the goal of this thing called democracy, that, and I want to share a few questions and insights that we didn't quite get to discuss last night, and then share with you a game plan for what we might do now. I got that question last night, and several of you have followed up with me already saying, this was so wonderful. I love this. I want more. What now? And so just, I gave you the second chapter of my book to read because I thought that was really interesting that across philosophical, religious, ethical traditions, there is a common sense of what it means to be human and just the practices, the principles that lend itself to a good life. And I wanted to share chapter 2 with you to show that across time and place, people have independently observed the human condition and said, what is the life well lived? Let's do more of that. And what hurts us? Let's do less of that. And these are the timeless principles of civility, of respect across difference. Not trying to diminish our differences, polish over our differences like politeness asks us to do, but to engage with civility, respecting ourselves enough to say, I have my beliefs, I'm going to share them with you, and respecting others enough to say, you can believe what you want to believe, and that's okay. We're not going to perfectly agree. So I wanted to share that chapter with you. I think you'll really enjoy it. And then the final chapter on misplaced meaning and forgiveness. A core aspect of the classical liberal project of this thing called liberal democracy is this separation between inner and outer, right? This is John Locke, his letter on toleration, that religion has to do with things of the soul, and government has to do with things of the body, and the government has no business legislating things of the soul. That's the realm that's the domain of faith leaders, of spirituality, of religion. And what does it mean that we have made a religion out of politics? What is our role as faith leaders to reverse that trend? It is bad for democracy and bad for ourselves when we have things that when we have a culture that is expecting too much of the democratic process, of our leaders, of politics that are going to disappoint. Think matters of the world will never answer kind of transcendent, spiritual, metaphysical questions of origin, purpose, and destiny. That is what our different religious backgrounds offer. So I wanted to. There are so many things we could have got to last night and we didn't. So I wanted to share those. Those were two reasons why I shared those two chapters with you and to invite further reflection. So in terms of a game plan for what we do now, I am going to attach the reading guide, the free reading guide that I put together, that I've across houses of worship, across institutions, across political persuasion, have used this reading guide to lead their communities in reading my book and I invite you to do the same, with an eye to saying, how do we live this? And what does this look like here now for our community? That is my invitation to you, to engage your community, I want to invite you into reading this book with me, and then meeting weekly to gather you can do it chapter by chapter or a few chapters at a time, and with an explicit eye, this is not just an intellectual exercise. Let's read this with an eye to how do we live it, and what might an era of multi-dimensional flourishing across difference look like in our community right now? That's what I want to invite you into a partnership to dream about. So please invite, if you would like, invite your communities into reading The Soul of Civility. And then let's gather in 6 weeks, and then have what now? What did you learn from your communities and your different faith backgrounds, on your perspectives on life as you went through it? And what ideas do you now have for what we can do as this group, as faith leaders, but also in our broader community as well? So that's one kind of invitation for you. Another one is, who else should be in the fold? Who else should know about this work, whether it is a faith leader, whether it is a political leader, a civic leader? We want to do more of these dinners and invite more people into the fold in the conversation. So nominate someone or several people, share about this experience with them, and say, we want you a part of this conversation and this work to help us flourish across difference. So thank you again for joining us last night. Those are some further reflections, and also some ideas for where we can go next. Read the book, invite your community and some friends to read it with you, and let's convene in 6 weeks or 12 weeks and say, what can we do now? But I can't wait to hear what you think of the book. I hope it can serve you and your communities. This is, again, an invitation into partnership. I want co-creators in this work. I want this to serve you as local leaders who then serve your communities, to embody and live this out. And really excited, really grateful. And in the meantime, write to me with any and all ideas you have for how this work can take root here in our community while we're piloting these different initiatives across the country and across the world. And it's an exciting time. Really grateful to be with you last night, and so much more to come.